In this video, we'll go over one of the few support classes in Lost Ark, the Bard, that focuses on supporting the party through music and the sound of their harp. Bards are an advanced class available to mages who juggle between providing burst heals and shields or huge short duration damage buff spells to their allies. As a support, Bards become incredibly important for harder content since they provide amazing damage buffs as well as increased survivability for the whole party during any raids. On top of being a support though, Bards have many skills that are useful depending on the situation. You will really be rewarded by understanding your whole class here and all your skills, as you can be flexible and take the appropriate skills and tripods depending on the raid you're actually going to. So if you're looking for a class that is highly sought after and rewards strong knowledge and awareness, then Bard could be for you. When it comes to your other mage classes, the Bard is very different than the Sorceress and the Arcanist, as it's the only dedicated support in the mage class. Bard has less mobility and damage too, since they focus more on supporting their teammates. The only similarity between the Bard and the Sorceress is that they have to make a choice in what they want to spend their identity on. Compared to the other support class, the Paladin, Bards aren't as tanky, but they can keep their allies alive longer with their shields and heals. On top of that, they also focus a bit less on making the teal deal consistent damage over time, but more on making those short burst damage windows as hard hitting as possible. The class mechanic of a Bard revolves around her so-called Serenade Meter. This Serenade Meter consists of 3 bubbles that build up by damaging enemies and supporting your allies. Once you've filled up this Serenade Meter, you can spend it to play one of your 2 songs, Serenade of Courage and Serenade of Salvation. Both songs have opposing purposes, which is why the Bard rewards players that have good awareness and understanding of the situation at hand. Serenade of Courage is the offensive buff, giving your allies a huge boost in damage for a short time. This will help your party to get all the needed DPS during key parts of raids. Serenade of Salvation, on the other hand, is the defensive buff, as it's a massive heal which restores health over time. This one helps undo your party's mistakes and increases the survivability of the raid group. It's worth keeping in mind though that both of these buffs increase in power depending on how many bubbles you consumed to play that song. That means that the risk between maximum output and use in small bursts is worth it, depending on the encounter. In PvE, a Bard keeps the main role as a support class in Lost Ark, so their entire playstyle is focused around keeping up strong buffs for healing, shielding and damage increasing in short duration windows. Although they may not do too much damage themselves, the damage increase they give to their team as well as the utility they provide is more than worth the difference. In PvP, the Bard obviously stays as a support class, but takes on more of a reactive role here. They use their buffs, immunity and great ability to peel to counter anything aggressive from their enemies. Since Bards also lack mobility and are very reliant on their team to deal damage, good positioning and understanding of the team fights is crucial. If you manage to keep your teammates buffed up whilst annoying the enemy team, you can have the biggest impact on your team's victory. Let's take a look at the Bard's core abilities. Soundholic is your main damage and stagger skill that makes your Bard shoot a blinding ray of light, which you want to use to follow up combos. Prelude of Storm calls forth a storm that's your counter and hard CC. You want to use this skill as a main source of meter generation. In the PvP arena, you can also use this skill to peel for your teammates that are getting juggled by push immune skills or to catch enemies off guard to start any type of engage. Heavenly Tune is a Bard's main buff skill that you want to use as often as possible, as it also buffs up your entire party with everything attack speed, good mana regeneration and some attack power. Guardian Tune is one of the best buffs and defensive skills in the game, hands down. It provides damage reduction and debuff immunity for your whole team to block one instance of hard CC. This allows you to bait abilities as well as reactively save your entire team from deadly situations, and if that's not enough already, it also provides great shielding. Rhapsody of Light is another defensive skill that reduces incoming damage to help mitigate damage taken by teammates by a lot. This will help everyone in your party that's getting juggled or is caught out. Sonic Vibration lifts up enemies at the target location to then slam them back down onto the ground. The Tenacity Tripod will grant you push immunity that is also good to use to peel for your teammates or yourself. The Brilliant Wave Tripod grants some extra attack power to every teammate inside the AoE radius of this skill, making it a staple for PvE. As with all classes, the Bard has access to 2 awakening abilities. Oratorio makes the Bard play her harp and sings to the angels to inflict a massive amount of holy damage. It ends with a final explosion that deals damage and increases crit chance against enemies for a short duration. Symphonia makes the Bard rise into the air and play music, granting all nearby allies a large shield that's based on the Bard's max HP. You'll do a bit of damage to enemies within range, but it'll also apply a debuff that will reduce their attack speed, their movement speed and their damage output too. Out of the 2 though, Symphonia is your preferred ability due to how much utility it provides compared to the other. Every Lost Ark class has access to engravings that will focus your playstyle in one particular direction. For Bard, you will choose between Desperate Salvation and True Courage. Desperate Salvation is all about healing up your allies. You heal them for an extra large percentage of their maximum HP, which will allow even the weak version of your Serenade of Salvation song to heal for a huge amount. As a Bard's key element is to keep the party buffed up and as healthy as possible, this will be your primary engraving to take, since it's also the only one of the Bard's class engravings to provide a bonus to their allies. When you choose this engraving, you want to focus on the swiftness stat first to keep cooldowns low and buffs to the team up. Specialization is the second stat to build upon. True Courage is kinda atypical, but more for bards that want to trek down the selfish main DPS path. It provides you with bonus damage and crit rate after using your Serenade of Valor song. Since Bard is most valuable as a support class and her ability kit lacks damage, it's not recommended to take this engraving at all. When you do choose this engraving though, you want to focus on the crit stat first to enhance your DPS, and focus on the swiftness stat secondary to keep your cooldowns as low as possible. That should be everything that you need to know to get your journey started on Lost Ark. Don't forget to head on over to our website at mobalytics.gg to find out all sorts of other content including class guides, boss breakdowns and plenty more.